Hey guys, welcome to Excel in U. Let's work on entering data into Excel and formatting our cell size to fit that data. We're going to start by selecting the cell that we want to enter the data into. From here, we simply start typing. Just like a word processor, we can type letters, we can backspace, type numbers, backspace, and even special characters. There are a couple things that are different than a word processor. We're not going to be able to format text using the same type of indentations, paragraphs, headers, bullet points, things along those lines like we would in a Word document. In addition to that, Excel is constantly looking for the use of formulas or equations. So be very mindful that you're not starting the data within a cell using mathematical symbols, such as the equal sign, plus, even the minus sign or a dash, could be viewed as Excel looking for a formula, which will give you an error message. So do be mindful that if you need to start data with a mathematical symbol, you may want to start with a parentheses or a quotation or even some spaces, and that might help Excel accept data as is, or look for ways to start your data without using a mathematical symbol if possible. Once we have entered the data into Excel, we can always go back to reformat it or edit that data. There are two ways to do so. Number one is I can go to an individual cell and double click on it. When I double click on that cell, I can now see the data within here. I can highlight, I can backspace, I can type in new information. If I don't want to work within the cell itself, it can get a little messy. It auto formats to different sizes. It can be a little bit weird sometimes. So I can also come up here to what's called the formula bar. The formula bar, right here at the top of the page, is where we can see all the data that's already been entered within a cell. As you can see, it's already starting to do some weird formatting things because of previous use of this worksheet. Okay, we'll come back to that wrap text in just a moment. To format the cells that the data is within, we want to look at the cells and that they are housing at that moment. For example, we have email, phone, and notes here that all are housing data that is larger than the cells that are containing the data. You'll notice that email and phone are cut off visually. All the data is there, but it's cut off from our visual sight, which sometimes is not an issue, but other times is an issue if we need to be able to quickly reference that data. Notes is completely visible to the right. It's running over into the columns next to it. That is because there is no data in the columns directly next to the cells housing all of these notes. It does not mean that the cells to the right in columns F and G and H are housing any data yet. All the data is being housed within column E. If I was to add data into column F, you'll notice that instantly the notes column gets cut off because that data is now more important, visually speaking, than what's in column E. You notice that once I used backspace or delete, that text is gone. It comes back to being visual again. So let's format these cells so we can house all the data in one place. I'm going to select column E. That's where my notes are, and that's where the data is running to the right. I'm going to go to the right side of the header of column E, where my cursor becomes a double-sided arrow. I'm going to click and drag. This allows me to manually adjust the width of the cells within column E. All of column E is now as wide as I would like it to be, and I can adjust back to be as narrow as I would like as well. The same thing can be done with rows. I can adjust the height of the row as desired. I can do this for multiple rows simultaneously by selecting 2, 3, or more rows or columns, and then at one point, any point, using that double-sided arrow to adjust that column or row. You'll notice that when I adjusted 1, all of the columns adjusted to the exact same size. That is important to note because sometimes I want all the columns the same size and sometimes I don't. This is a great example because emails, phone numbers, and notes all take a different amount of space. So let's come back to a little bit closer to the original size, and let's look at how to auto-format to the width that will house the data within the cells. I can select one or multiple columns or rows, go to that point where my arrow is double-sided, and double-click. Now the columns or rows are auto-formatted to fit the width or height of the cell that has the most data. So column C is as wide as the largest email. Column D, most or all phone numbers are the same size, so that is a very consistent row. And column E is as wide as the largest note that is written in it. Now, I don't always want my cells to be as wide as the largest data value because sometimes, especially with notes can be very, very long, and I don't want a cell that expands 3 pages to the right. When those kinds of situations happen, I can manually adjust the size of the column, and I still have that problem of the notes running over. So I'm going to fix that by using wrap text. I'm going to select column E. I can also select individual cells or any range of cells I want simultaneously, and click wrap text. Now the cells are auto-formatted so that anything past the width that I have set wraps to one line lower within the cell. You'll notice this cell down here, E5, got a little weird. It's formatting to a point that I can't see the data within it. So I'm going to come over here to the number 5 for row 5, go to the bottom where I would adjust the height of that row, and I'm going to double click. Aha! So I found that there was spacing in here that I didn't originally see. When I created wrap text, it tried to format in a certain way that the cell didn't realize was happening. When I adjusted the height of that row, now I can see all of the data. I can do this to any number of rows, any number of columns simultaneously. I can use wrap text on the entire worksheet if I want to. The nice thing about that is now that wrap text is turned on for the entire worksheet, any cell that I go into where data starts to run past the edge automatically creates new lines. When I hit enter or move into a different cell, that row auto-adjusts to the height necessary. When I hit backspace or delete, it will auto-adjust back to the original size. If for any reason it doesn't, we always go back to our basics of adjusting the height of the row or the width of the column. Let me know how you like to edit the size of your cells and the data that you're entering in for your use case. Have a great day, guys.